And I believe I am live. Now, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sincerely Agile with Mary. Now, if you're joining us live or if you're watching the replay for the first time, this is the show where we promote the lean agile mindset, where we learn, unlearn, and relearn. And of course, it's a platform where we want to be awesome and wholesome together. Now, my name is Mary Lanio, and I'm an enterprise agile coach, and I'm your host as usual. Now, today I'm particularly excited. As always, I always say I'm particularly excited. I'm excited because today we're going to be talking about starting in Agile. And I have an amazing young woman to join me on this conversation. Now I have Tobe Neji, and I'm just going to bring her to the screen.
Hi.
Hello, Tobe.
Hi, Mary. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you so much for having me. It's really amazing. Thank you so much.
It is great to have you on the show. You are investing your time here, so we are grateful. It's so amazing to have you, Tobe, because I know you are a renowned agilist. I mean, the first time I met you, you were actually, I think you were hosting a webinar on Anu Gopal's meetup, and you were talking about the 12 Agile principles. And I totally, absolutely loved the way you related the principles to our personal growth. Mm-hmm. And I want to believe at some point in the show you will be telling us all about that. But in the meantime, let us see who's joining us. Okay, we have Chanel, we've got Ronke, and we've got someone else joining us there. So we've got a few people joining us already. Let me see. Yes, we've got a few people joining us. That's right. Okay. Now, Tobe, tell me, how have you been faring during this COVID period? I mean, it's been a crazy almost 18 months now. I mean, if anyone told me this is what our life would be like today, I wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah.
So how have you been?
It's kind of like that thing that started out, first of all, being denial, like, oh no, this isn't happening. And then the realization, okay, this is happening. How am I supposed to figure this out, right? The first couple of months were a bit of a struggle, but then eventually I kind of came to this space where I just started to, in a sense, float through the circumstance. And I think I'm still in that float phase. It's not as crazy as it was before, but I'm just in that float phase. I'm thankful that things are starting to open up right now globally and people are starting to go out more because I have missed outside. I have missed outside so much. And I'm one of those that actually cannot wait to go back into the office. You know,
really?
Yeah, I want to go back into the office.
I was just going to ask if you have been working from home. I mean, like most of us have.
Yes, I have. And it's interesting because I actually started a new job at the start of the pandemic. So I've been at my job for over a year. I haven't met a lot of people that I work with. I don't even know where my office is. I don't even know where my desk is at the office. So it's like, oh, I want that to change. And personally, I thrive on physical human interaction in my workplace. I'm that person who likes to do happy hours, hang out at the lunch area, high five a coworker. And I'm not getting to do that. I've not gone to do that in such a long time. So the entire experience was a whole new learning for me on how to do work, because it was completely different from anything I had ever known, anything that I've ever prepared. And so it was a struggle at first, but you know, now even as I've gotten better at it, I still look forward to a time when I can high five my coworkers and go out to happy hour, to be honest.
I can imagine. And starting a new job and having to onboard everything online. I mean, like you said, we had to get used to it. I mean, I have had to, be onboarded on 2 different roles since the pandemic. Oh, wow. And somehow we get by. And you see, this is the beauty of who we are as human beings. We are adaptable. And if you remember, what did Darwin say? What do you remember that sentence where it says success is not to the most intelligent, but to the most adaptable, something like that.
Yeah.
To the most adaptable. And it just goes to show that we humans are really, really adaptable to change. And that is, that is interesting. That is great. So it's good to see that you're looking forward to going back to the office. But if you ask me if I was looking forward to going back to the office full time, my answer would be no. Now, I don't know if that has anything to do with my age, but that answer would be no. So what I'm looking forward to is maybe the occasional
A
you
hybrid
know,
model, yeah.
yeah, the a hybrid model. Yes,
Mm.
yes, yes.
I
And
actually
that,
don't think that anyone is going to be looking for a full-time work experience, even for the corporations, right? I
yeah,
think that a lot of people have discovered a interesting cost savings with the way we've had to work over the past 1 year. So I think it will be really hard pressed to find anyone who's thinking, hey, let's have everyone move into the office.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would really like the hybrid model. And before COVID, I traveled a lot, a lot. So I guess that it's also coming from that. And let's see, we've got a few more people join us. We've got Jane join us. Hello, Jane. Nice to have you here. We've got Temitope Akindoyin here. Hello, Temitope, calling from Nigeria. Thank you for joining. Nice to have you here. And we've got Maximizing Creativity and Potential. Nice to have you here. And we have Lento. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, let me tell our audience a little bit about you. I'm just going to read out your bio, okay? Now, Tobe is a certified Agile coach who has built expertise in process transformation, product ownership, communication, and strategy, with a focus on delivering consistent high value at a sustainable pace. Currently, she works in the cloud computing space as an engagement manager with Amazon Web Services. She is passionate about personal mindset growth and actively shares knowledge and insights into diverse subjects through multiple platforms. She is the founder of the Project U platform, and she's going to be telling us, a lot about that. She's created the Daily Agile framework, which adopts the Agile mindset, values, and principles as a framework for achieving holistic personal growth using the GROW model. Her work helps her clients consider themselves as lifelong projects, take ownership of their process, progress, and outcomes, and apply the Kaizen mindset towards continuously improving themselves. Now, that is an amazing, bio right there. Now, you've talked about the Agile principles. You've talked about how this can be applied to, personal growth, and that is quite interesting, and we would like to know more about that as we go along. And from your bio, I can see that you are so passionate about, human capital development. So welcome to this space, because this is the space I love to be also. And this is what we're trying to do on this show. We're trying to promote, the personal agility. Personal agility is one of the things we're trying to promote. How can you disrupt yourself? We often talk about organizations disrupting themselves, but how can you disrupt yourself so that you can leverage all the capabilities you have? So, Tobe, welcome to the show. Now, let me go to your questions. I've got some amazing questions for you, Tobe. Now, how did your Agile journey start? How did your Agile journey start?
Yeah, so for me, actually didn't start out intending to go Agile or learn anything about Agile. I migrated to the United States, and I needed to figure out the best way to transfer the skills and knowledge that I already had from my previous career into something that gave me a sustainable growth path in the United States. And so the first thing that I discovered was business analysis. And so I went out to train as a business analyst. Now, of course, any business analyst worth their salt knows about Agile, right? And so I got that Agile exposure, but then it was after I started working as an analyst that I really started to get interested in Agile and, the growth path within Agile, first from a work and career delivery perspective. First it was understanding how to be a practitioner, understanding how to work within the development team, becoming a product owner, actually being a product owner, and then becoming a coach. It was first, that technical framework. But then as you get to understand Agile delivery methods, at a point you'd realize, oh, okay, wait, these are, in a sense, common sense ideas that you can take from work delivery and apply them to other things. The concept of user stories, for instance, and being very specific for the outcome you're looking for is a concept you can apply to everything in your life, because when you're clear on your outcome, it's easy to know what you need to do to get you there, right? So in my head, I started to think, Agile is great. It's great for work delivery, especially when you're working with a bunch of people who all share that philosophy and ideology with you. It works. But then taking all of that and applying it to personal life is palpable. It's something that is possible. And so I started to think differently about how I did my work and how I approached my own personal decisions. So going into chasing the path of Agile professionally sort of had a dual effect into my personal life and just my ideology and mindset in decision making. So I guess that's a bit of my journey towards that space. Of course, becoming an Agile coach for me was, I wouldn't call it the pinnacle of it, but then when you get that SPC, you can now call yourself a coach. And then within your coaching practice, you can break it up into being someone who is looking at the career path and someone who is going into the more personal side of Agile. And I did.
And it's interesting you talked about the career path and how you worked your way towards being a coach. Because a lot of people sometimes think, you know what, to become a coach, all I need to do is a Scrum Master course. Once I do a Scrum Master course, oh, I am an Agile coach. But it is a journey, isn't it? It is a journey. And I also, like you said, you were looking for how you could use the skills you already had when you migrated to the US. The skills you already had, how you could bring that into something else. So we're talking transferable skills here.
Yes, yes.
And when we talk about transferable skills and when we're talking about Agile, what I often say to people is there are so many things we're already doing that is Agile. We may not be calling it Agile, but that is Agile and that can be transferred into that Agile space in terms of the way we work. And of course, you had the privilege of working as a BA in an Agile space.
Yes, yes.
So it wasn't that difficult to sell Agile to you, right?
It absolutely wasn't. And as a matter of fact, even prior to starting as a business analyst within an Agile space, with the exposure that I had during my training, in a sense, I was already sold because, you know, like I said, it's almost a commonsensical type of situation. It's okay, would you rather spend a lot of time planning out the long-term work, or would you spend time working on smaller deliverables that can at least make you, in a sense, happy, right? So something you're going to notice with me is when I talk Agile, I tend to not use a lot of Agile terms because I have imbibed it to a point where it's more personal for me. At the end of the day, if you're able to break up your work in such a way that every day there is something that satisfies you with the work that you've done, you're going to go to bed a happier person.
A happier person.
Next morning, a happier person. It gives you more of the oomph you need to do the next stage of work. And in my head, I would rather have those small bouts of happiness that build up to joy than wait until everything is perfect before I start running, right?
And I like, how you talk about that little thing that gives you happiness, quick wins.
Right.
So you can have your quick wins with Agile. Now, for those of you watching and you have no clue what Agile is a new way of thinking, is a new way of working so that we can have deliverables in small chunks by testing our deliverables in a volatile environment. As you can see, the environment is quite volatile. So we need to work in a way that is responsive to the environment so that we can minimize waste and actually have what we call an empirical environment, work in an empirical kind of environment where you're constantly testing stuff or delivering things in small chunks so that you can be sure that at every point in time, given that the environment is changing so frequently, you're delivering what the customer wants. So you can, read up more on that if you want to know more about what Agile is and join us from time to time. We're going to continue to talk about Agile on this platform. And what we're particularly here to do today is to actually encourage people to come into the Agile space. That is what Tobe is here to do today. And that is why we're asking her about her Agile journey. We're encouraging people to come into this space. Now, Tobe, one of the misconceptions that I hear, that I see out there, is that a lot of people think, oh, this Agile thing is not for me. It is too technical. It is too technical. This is not for me. Do you experience that as well?
Yeah, I've had people say that. And, I would say it's really through no fault of theirs, because Agile has come to bear as something, a method of working that was developed for the technical folks, for software development and software delivery, right? So I get it. And that's where, when you're thinking about Agile, we need to take the conversation from just work delivery or output delivery and take it to the mindset that is Agile, right? We want to talk about what actually needs to change in the way you make decisions, and what needs to change in the way you think through the solutions to your problems, right? And when you focus on that, you would recognize that Agile is not just for technology. Agile is for HR, it's for business, it's for accounting. As a matter of fact, I tell people that Agile is, the way project management is something that can be infused into every facet of work delivery.
Yeah.
Agile is that. Think about every single project that you've worked on, and a project includes your personal growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Think about every single project that exists and then get a more agile way of delivering on that project. So when you're thinking Agile, don't think about the technology, don't think about the ceremonies, don't think about everything that's prescribed. Think about the mindset. Think about how you need to change the way you think about your problems.
That's
and
it.
then and then we can start really truly being agile.
Exactly. Agile is a mindset, it's a new way of thinking about work. And let's come back to the COVID situation so that we can really talk about the benefit of Agile, right? Now, when COVID hit, some organizations, for them, business continuity was a walk in the park. Why? Because they were already adaptable.
Yes.
And for some organizations, that meant, you know what, this is the end of our business, because they were rigid.
Yeah.
They hadn't moved, an inch in the way they, operated in their industry. They were still operating from a traditional, way of thinking and everything. But organizations that had moved forward in terms of their way of thinking, that were more agile, I guess we can say are even thriving, not just surviving.
Yeah. And something that definitely happened during COVID is that there definitely was a spike in opportunities for people who had agile competence, because even companies who had not gone agile realized the necessity for doing that during COVID. Because even though everyone was going virtual, there was now a need to not just have virtual teams, but also have smaller teams that could deliver quicker to respond to everything that was changing. I mean, we were having weeks when we would go to bed with one thing, wake up with another thing, right? So things were changing rapidly. And I think that a lot of business leaders recognize the need to have quick delivering teams. And so that definitely created a spike in the need for Agilists. A lot of people were out getting jobs as Scrum Masters, coaches, Agile delivery leads, and all of that. And I think that, as much as COVID has been bad, it did give that sort of exposure to the work industry globally.
Absolutely. It was bad, but it also raised a lot of awareness about how it is important for us to disrupt ourselves and for organizations to begin to think about how they can be, much more adaptable. Now, did you have a mentor?
On my journey, did I have a mentor? So I would say yes and no, because it wasn't like an official mentor. But then, of course, going in to train as a business analyst, I had more of a coach who taught me a lot, who helped me put myself together and really helped me strengthen my transferable skills and how to communicate the transfer of the skills I had from Nigeria down here. And then when I started working, there was a manager, his name is Michael. There was a manager at my organization he had been a self-taught developer, risen through the ranks, gotten into leadership. And at the time that I met him, he had just become an Agile coach, and he actually trained me for several of my certifications. And there was just something about his journey that I found personable, right? It's that sort of thing where you're like, hold on, this is someone who literally took a decision a couple of years ago to make a difference in how their life grows from this point forward. And I felt very drawn to that. And so I built a relationship with him, his family, and he also went ahead to have multiple businesses, right? So his life became a sort of blueprint for how I wanted to navigate my own life going forward. And so I found myself at a lot of points where I'm like, okay, this is the decision I'm trying to make. This is the certification that I want to do. These are the options that I'm having for how I want my career to grow. I found myself having those conversations with him and taking his advice a lot. So I wouldn't say it was necessarily an official mentor-mentee relationship.
Right.
I have to think of anyone whose words, experiences, and life path sort of shone a light for me. Michael comes up tops on that list.
Okay.
And I'm very grateful for that relationship.
Great, great. So would you say that made the journey a little more difficult, not having a mentor?
Well, that's an interesting question. You know, funny. It's funny. Because of course I do coaching now for folks, right? And just this weekend, I had been speaking to someone who I'm helping put herself together to get a job that she wants. And I was thinking to myself, at the time that I was trying to get this kind of role, I didn't have anyone to do this for me. I wonder what would have been different if I had someone doing it for me. So you know how you don't know what you don't have because you don't have it, right? You don't know the value of it. You see what I mean? So I don't know if things would have been easier or not. I'm not sure because I just didn't have that, right? I can imagine that it might have been, but I'm not sure. And I can't tell you right now that my journey was difficult. I can't say that because at every point in time, even though I can't say that I had someone that was dedicatedly helping me do, figure things out at that time, I never felt like I was blocked. I never felt like I couldn't reach out to someone and ask a question, right? So maybe that also is a mindset thing for where I'm coming from. So that's a bit of a tricky question for me to answer.
I know. I know because I mean, I've been a consultant for 12 years. I've been working in organization, development. I've been, into human capital development. So about 6 years ago, when I started to hear more about Agile, I will go online. Maybe I'm looking for some training. I'll see Agile. I started to think, you know what? This is something I really need to look into. So I am a self-taught Agilist. I started off on my own. Okay. So I can relate to the fact that you really can't tell if, there was something missing. And
Right.
I think if you also have that drive, you just keep going. You just keep going. You're learning this and learning that and taking this one certification after the other. So for me, I always say to people that my Agile journey wasn't difficult because I was already a researcher. I was already a consultant. So I was already great at going online and learning something and, doing my research. But I could also see how someone who didn't have that mindset and who wanted to come into this space could need more help. I could also see that.
Yes,
if you see what I mean.
Yeah. And it's something I talk about, right? If you need help, ask for help, you'll get help, right? That's the way I see it. And I feel like because of my mindset and philosophy, I never really feel stuck where getting help is concerned, because I feel like I can find the information I need online. If I can't find it online, I can find someone to ask. Push comes to shove, they'll tell me no, I'll find someone else, right? So
absolutely,
that's really my mindset around things.
Same here. So, and another thing we must talk about is the fact that the Agile communities are out there. I went from one webinar to the other. I'm always at, some kind of conference. I learned from people. So I had, unofficial mentors, if you like. For me,
right. Yeah. So, and I think that is something. It's good that you bring up that point. Yeah. I don't know what it is. And I think perhaps it is the Agile mindset that a lot of us eventually imbibe and develop. There is a lot of support. There's a lot of support within the Agile communities. There hasn't been a place that I've gone to ask for something that I've not been able to find someone to give it to me. You see what I'm saying? So if you are someone who is trying to get into the Agile space, or you're already in the Agile space, just starting out, or even if you've moved further, don't feel like you're alone. There's always someone that you can reach out to, and you'd be amazed when you use tools like LinkedIn, you use tools like Eventbrite, you will find meetups, you will find people to discuss with, you will find people that you can actually talk through your specific work challenges with, who have either had that experience or have ideas on how to help you just navigate that situation. So it's good that
I need you to read that comment on the screen. I need you to read that.
I'm proud of my wife.
That's interesting. So I was just going to ask you another question, but you seem to have touched on it. You started talking about it actually. If you were to advise anyone starting today, what are the first 3 things you would ask them to do? Anyone trying to come into the Agile space today, they approach you and they say, Tobe, I want to come into this Agile space. What are the first 3 things you would ask them to do?
The first thing is they need to, first of all, work on their mindset, right?
Okay.
Being within the Agile space, being an Agilist, first of all, requires you to recognize that every problem has a solution. There is nothing that is not figure outable. We can always get the answers. We may not know the answers right now. It might take us a while to get the answers, but everything is figure outable. So work on your mindset, first thing.
I like that.
Now, the second thing is, if you're coming to me and saying, I want to go into the Agile space, my answer to that is, okay, go, right? But if you're coming to me and you're saying, okay, so within the Agile space, there's Scrum Masters, there's product owners, there's release train engineers, you're calling out different ways that you could be within the Agile space, then I know that you're someone who has actually done the work, done the research, and you're ready for us to have a conversation. So the next thing is, do research. You have to, like you said, Mary, you're a person who already likes to do research. Now, even if you need additional support, right? Do research and have more specific questions, because the key to solving problems is to ask the right questions. So first of all, know that every problem can be solved. The problem that you're having right now is you're trying to enter into the Agile space. That's a problem that can be very easily solved. To solve that problem, do your research and have the proper questions to ask, so that any person that is helping you can guide you properly based on the questions that you ask, based on the history that you already have and the experience that you have, the skills that you have, because different skill sets make you more suited for different parts within the Agile community and the Agile delivery framework, right? So those would be the first 2 things. And then the third thing is move.
I like that.
Move. Don't stay in one spot. And the beauty of Agile, because I mean, I've been a Scrum Master, I've been a product owner, I've been a coach. Right now, I'm working as an engagement manager. I don't have a job title that is anything within the Agile delivery framework, but what I do every day is in line with the Agile delivery framework. I support my customers using Agile principles and values, of course, along with AWS principles and values, right? Now, don't get so strong on the job title. Don't get so strong. You don't have to be a Scrum Master to deliver as a Scrum Master. You don't have to be a coach to deliver as a coach. Your job title doesn't have to say that. So as much as we're talking about all the different paths you can walk on within the Agile delivery framework, what we're talking about is really the skill set that you have, the communication competence that you have, the way that you approach working with the teams that you work with, the capacity at which you're going to work with these teams. It's not about the title. So don't get strung up on that. Right. Yeah. When I coach people, someone comes and says, "Oh, I want to be." I had this lady who said, "I want to be a program manager," and then we kept talking. I'm like, "Okay, so why do you want to be a program manager?" She's like, "She just wants to be a program manager." I'm like, "You're totally going to close out so many other career paths because you're only chasing program management, right? There's so many other things that you can do that still allows you to deliver in that job capacity." So top 3 things: change your mindset. Get yourself to that place where, you're asking the right questions, you've done your research. And then move without setting barriers for yourself.
I totally love that. And, the mindset comes first. The mindset comes first. And I often say I coach people a lot also. And I'm like, you know what? How do you show that you're an Agilist? It is by living the mindset. It is by living the mindset. So how can you help your team embrace the Agile mindset? It's not about, putting Post-its on the board. It's about you living the mindset. And Agile is not just about, the ceremonies. It's about our way of thinking. It's about the way we engage, how we connect, how we can create a safe environment. And this is why organizations that are embracing Agile are really leveraging the capabilities their employees bring to the table. Because this is what I say to people. I see every human being as a vault, okay, as a vault. And you and I know that a vault is a place where you keep valuables, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a group of people and you're trying to tap into their collective intelligence, you have to unlock the vault.
Yeah. That is
They have to give you the keys to unlock that vault. And for you to be able to unlock that vault, the environment needs to be safe.
Yep.
It needs to be safe. If the environment is not safe, there's going to be a barrier, right? I ain't going to let you access me. And this is how we need to think in this space. How can we bring out the best in each other? How can we improve our working spaces? And that, responsibility lies with everybody. And that is why the mindset is always the first thing. You were going to say something?
Yeah, there's two things I wanted to share. Like quite recently, I took on a sort of temporary side project to help out a friend, and then after I joined a couple of meetings, for their team, someone on there said, since Tobe joined, I've noticed that when we schedule a 30-minute meeting, it's 30 minutes, right? And, for me, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't even, it was something I did not recognize. I didn't know that was a challenge they had been facing. But then because it's that thing where you have a time boxing mentality, you're in there, you're very clear and specific for what outcomes you're trying to have for each engagement you're going into. My meeting invites have an agenda, have a time box. I'm specific about who I need to have conversations with. The questions are direct and, very clear. It wasn't a challenge to keep things time boxed, right? And so when that feedback was shared, for me, I was like, oh, okay, well, how about you give me 2 people from your team that I could start to work with so that I help them achieve this? Because it's a very temporary engagement. I'm coming out of that engagement very quickly. How I start working with these people to help them achieve this, right? Yeah. And that automatically was, oh, great, you're giving us even additional value, right? Yeah. So that speaks to what you said about living the mindset.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you don't even recognize the value that you're giving until you've gone and you've just done you. You've done it the way that you know is the right way to do and is the most valuable way to do. And all of a sudden it's like, wow, there's all this time. Something as simple as an additional 15 minutes given back to a developer is a lot because they want to get their work done. Don't come and interrupt them, right? So if you're able to come in with some method of communicating, handling your engagements that gives them the time that they need to do their work, that is appreciated. So that definitely speaks to what you were saying about just living that mindset and carrying it with you, even when you're in moments where you're not intentionally trying to put that out.
Absolutely.
That wasn't the problem I was trying to solve.
No, it wasn't, but you did solve it because of the way you went about your work, okay? And Stella is saying here, it is important to have a good coach for support. Even as coaches ourselves, we need to have a coach, which is true. Right now, I have a coach. I definitely have a coach, and I have several coaches. I have several support systems that I'm connected with. I have the go-to people because we don't know it all. And one thing I say to people is this, the more I learn, I just bought a book today. I bought a book like a month ago, and I bought a book like 2 months ago. I'm always buying books. And the more I read, the more I find I need to read. I buy a book, I'm reading it, I'm enjoying it, and I can see there's another book that can give me just another dimension of what I'm reading right now. And then I'm getting onto Amazon and I'm reading again. So the more we know, the more it seems we need to know. And I totally agree with what you're saying, Stella, especially today, especially within our work environment today, where the environment is so complex. You need, collective intelligence to attend to these solutions. We need to constantly seek more knowledge. We need to get support from other people because no one knows it all. That is fantastic. And talking about meetings, I had a guest on my show a while back, and we were talking about unproductive meetings. It is amazing how much is wasted because people do not meet with intent. And if you're watching and you don't know about Agile, that is part of the problems we're trying to solve when we talk about thinking differently, showing up differently, and just approaching things with the right mindset. When we have unproductive meetings, it is waste. And on this show, we are promoting the lean agile mindset. So we want to, be much more responsive, and we want to minimize waste. So that was a good one there, Tobe. Good on you. Good on you.
Thanks.
Good on you. And let's see, do we have any more comments there? Support system is absolutely, Yemi, it's very, very important.
I wanted to kind of like say something with regards
Yes,
to
please.
the support system. Yes, coaches and mentors are amazing. They're great to have, but something that's also amazing is having peers, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, I think having, when you're networking, you want to network across, you want to, network upwards.
Yeah.
A lot of times we really disregard the networking across. We really disregard growing with our peers and having people who are at the same level as us. Mm-hmm. Those really are the people that you can say, hey, I've got a job at my company. Do you want to that job so we can all be on the same team, right? Those are people that are important to have. So as much as you're trying to build relationships with coaches and mentors, let's not forget building relationships with peers as well.
Yeah, and I think that happens naturally from our coaching sessions that we have with our trainees and mentees. I mean, I have successfully, helped about 7 mentees into the Scrum Master role, both here in the UK and in the United States. And that brings me to this question. I see you're based in the US. Can you tell us what the job market is looking like now post-COVID, especially in the Agile space? Are things picking up again? Because we're trying to encourage people. We want, more people that look like us in this space, because we are constantly complaining about, opportunities, about diversity and inclusion. But what steps are we taking to develop ourselves and to get into this, into better spaces, if you like? So can you just tell us what is the market looking like right now?
Well, I mean, I think really from last year, because a lot of companies started seeing the need to go agile, a lot of opportunities have opened up. But again, I'm going to go back to not being so focused on the agile roles for job titles, right?
Okay.
There are so many, I would say more within the technology space. Within the technology space, there's a lot of roles. Even outside of the technology space, there's a lot of roles that are open. But then having the agile competence, having the skill set, the knowledge base, and just the mindset around agility definitely gives you a bit of an oomph with getting your job. Now, I'm going to speak for 2 things. Of course, because I'm technology based, I can
exactly
about that, and then I'll speak about non-technology stuff. So for technology based stuff, I was reading an article on LinkedIn the other day. It was talking about the boom that happened within the cloud computing space through last year. It was massive, right? So for that, I would say anyone who is looking to come into the technology space, please come into the technology space. There's a lot of space for you. We have a lot of room. Come and join us. But when you do that, try to gain some sort of cloud competence, because you know how, we're always in a season where, how Nigerians say it's, "Na this thing they rain," right? Cloud is starting to be the in thing. So give yourself some sort of cloud competence so that you have a bit of a competitive edge if you're trying to go into the technology space. Now, if you're not coming into the technology space, you want to go into HR, accounting, business intelligence, anything else, having a very, very strong agile competence will help you move forward. I can say that from my story. I got a job in AWS, Amazon Web Services, and I did not have a single knowledge about cloud computing. I knew nothing. Everything I know about cloud computing right now.
And today you are the engagement manager for AWS.
Right. So, but the reason I was able to get that job is because of my very strong competence with Agile. right? Because they weren't looking for someone who knew everything about cloud. They were looking for someone who could lead projects that were cloud enabled, right? You will learn about cloud eventually.
Thank you.
You want to have some sort of strong competence in project management, in project delivery, and Agile gives you that. So 2 things to take away. First, regardless of the career path, if you want to diversify and grow, gain some Agile competence. If you're trying to be technology focused, gain some cloud competence. And that should set you up to be on your path to doing good things in your career.
And I'm so happy you talked about how you knew nothing about AWS, okay? Now, you knew nothing about AWS, but you were hired nonetheless. You know why? Because they saw in you a self-directed person, a self-driven person, someone who could learn on their own. And this is what we say on this platform. You need to, when it comes to personal agility, learning agility. Now, when we talk about learning agility, what are we saying? Are you learning at the pace of change? That is it. Are you learning at the pace of change, or at least even above the pace of change?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you will be left behind.
Yeah.
Things are moving so fast. We can't afford not to leverage our personal agility. We have it. The question is, are we leveraging it? Now, if you think you didn't have personal agility, just remind yourself that you have lived through COVID. Just remember that you have lived through COVID. So if you have lived through COVID, you are adaptable. You can disrupt yourself. You do have personal agility. You just need to get on with it. Like Tobe said, she said, mindset, research, and move. We move. And we need to start moving now, especially all of you that look like myself and Tobe. we need to start moving.
It's interesting that you say that, with the, with COVID, right? And that is very true. A lot of the people that I get to coach and talk to and help through their personal growth and career navigation are typically people that have either migrated or are migrating from someplace in Africa to either Canada, the UK, or America. And sometimes you're like, oh, I don't have work experience. I've never done any, I've never worked on a project. And I'm like, you migrated, right? You sat in Nigeria or whatever country you were in, and you figured out how to position yourself to migrate in a way that you could actually find a job in this new country. That is a project. It's not every Tom, Dick, and Harry can just wake up and say, I'm migrating, right? Making that decision to say, I'm going to move to a different country. And then what you now maybe have to start doing is figuring out how you set up your grade so that you can get a scholarship, or figuring out what school you need to apply. Like, all of that is a lot of intense, specific, intentional work. So now let us work backwards from what you have achieved. You're now in America or the UK or Canada. Now let's work backwards on the process that got you there. And let's put all of those things within project management guardrails and apply some agile mindset to that. And then tell me that you've never had a project, right?
Exactly.
When we do that, you realize that a lot of people are like, oh, wow, okay. And then also taking the COVID story as well, having people literally figure themselves out from January 2020 to today, that is definitely a story on personal agility.
Absolutely. And Chanel here says, how can people without qualifications or work experience relevant to Agile kickstart the process of getting into the Agile space? I think she probably missed the beginning of the show, so you might just want to quickly iterate that.
Well, really, the first thing is you want to do your research and kind of like know, okay, these are the job roles, these are the titles within the Agile space. This is what would be expected of me as a product owner, as a Scrum Master, right? Think about those things and then look at the skills that you already have in whatever field it is. Which one of those titles do you find yourself more aligned to? And then start working towards that. Start understanding what that role is. Something that I definitely encourage people to do is, if, for instance, you're looking for a job as a product owner, do research and see all the job postings for product owners. What are they looking for? What are the required qualifications, right? Anything there that you already have, tick it off. I've got this, I've got this. Anything that you don't have and can easily get, go get it.
And more importantly, you talked about the mindset. We will always come back to the mindset. Just like it doesn't matter what we're trying to solve in the workspace, we always come back to the 4 values and 12 principles for Agile, because those are the pillars, right? Now, you have to have the right mindset. The mindset of disrupting yourself, the mindset of getting up and, having that can-do spirit, the mindset of believing that, what, you can do this and that you have the ability to do that, but you have to leverage those abilities, because we have a lot of, competencies, we have a lot of talents that are dormant, right? So we need to change our mindset and, take responsibility for taking that baby step. Now, you talked about how we are a project.
Yes.
Okay. How we're a project. And I know you are very busy in the personal space, and you are actually the founder of Project You. So in other words, what you're telling us is that we need to see ourselves as a project.
Correct.
We need to see ourselves as a project. Tobe, please tell us more about that.
It is Project You. Same way you're working on, I don't know, project XYZ, project migration, project optimization. Now, this is Project You. And you are the project. What I do with people who work with me is I help them, first of all, crystallize what their big picture is, what their outcome is, but then also keeping in mind that I'm not trying to create a big picture for the next 30 years. We're creating a big picture for now, right? So you're a student now. What does a big picture within the realms of a student look like, right? We'll crystallize that big picture, and then we will decompose you as a person into all of the different facets of you that make you who you are, right? If you're someone who is very strong on your faith, and there's a part of your faith that you need to grow to help you achieve your big picture, we'll get you to that. If you're someone who is very strong on family relationships, and there's a part of that you need to grow to help you get to your big picture, we'll break you out into that. We'll identify all the facets that are going to work together to help you achieve your goal, and then start working on each facet individually to figure out what needs to happen within those particular facets, what's dependent on, on what. It's pretty much like doing an entire story mapping on your life, right? We're going to create your epic and then break you down into features, and then start to map out the user stories within those features. Decide on what we're putting into sprint 1. Hey, okay, so within the first 1 month, what do we want to see within each of these facets? What are the tools that we need to put together to help you get there? Sometimes I don't know the tools, but because I am working with you as your growth partner, part of my commitment to you is I will work with you to research tools that you can use. If we can't find anything, we will create tools that we can use. We will figure out a way to help you get from your A to your B in these small facets of yourself. So at the end of a 1 month period, a 2 month period, a 3 month period, you're able to see a holistic growth in yourself over the different facets that you've chosen to grow. Now, if it's a situation where there's just one pain point, a lot of people that come to me, the pain point they have is their finance and their career pain point. They want to make more money. They want to figure out their career. So, okay, we're focusing on these things. We're going to speed up and accelerate around these things and address them quickly to a point where you feel comfortable enough to start addressing other things within your holistic growth plan. So what I do is really just think about you as a project, you're a human being project, and we break down that project into all of the smallest ways we can achieve small bouts of happiness that bring us a bigger ball of joy.
Absolutely. So think of that epic, that big, success story you're looking for, and then ask yourself, what are the things that I need to do? Break it down into smaller chunks. We are coming back to the agile way of working now.
Exactly.
Let's break it down into small bits so that we can have small wins, right? And we can feel energized, because one of the things that feels great about quick wins is you actually feel, oh yeah, that was great, I've just achieved that. And then you're energized to go and do more, isn't it?
Yes, and something that I incorporate into my method is incorporating small rewards, because we all like to get a pat on the back. So, hey, you achieve these things, this is your reward for yourself. You achieve these next couple of things, this is your reward for yourself. And it's a method that I tried for myself. I tell the story a lot about how I helped myself start making my bed more often. I never used to make my bed. And so it became a thing of, okay, if I can make my bed every day for 1 week, I will have an additional glass of wine at the end of the week. And it started to be, it's small and almost negligible, but then just thinking to myself, I want to earn this additional glass of wine. And you keep doing that. And then at a point, you no longer need the glass of wine, but then the habit has already been formed, right? Yeah. So it helps you kind of like put yourself together in a way that you are working towards something that you know will satisfy you and make you feel good. And at the same time, you're building a habit that moves you forward.
Building a habit. And if we do those little things every single day, apparently if you do something repeatedly for 30 days, I think that's what they say, it becomes a habit. Amazing. Now let's go back to the technology bit before we start talking about the 12 Agile values. We've got 10 minutes left. Now, a lot of women shy away from coming into the Agile space. As a matter of fact, barely 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a friend who I was actually encouraging to say, you know what, I need you to come into this Agile space because I can see you have a lot to offer. And she has been in the personal development space and HR for a long time. And I'm saying to her, you already have about 60% of what you need to be in the Agile space. And she goes, I don't like technology, Mary. Don't tell me anything about technology. I said, no, it's not technical. So there's that misconception. Now, Tobe here, she's working with Amazon Web Services, AWS. She knew nothing about AWS when they started. You just have to be teachable. Yeah. And moreover, it is true that Agile started in the technology space. Agile has gone beyond technology. Today, we are talking about Agile in finance, Agile in human resource, Agile in
personal development.
In personal development, Agile in marketing, Agile marketing. They actually have certifications now for Agile marketing, right? So you can, I like that you said we can also learn those things because, for example, as an Agilist, if you want to add more value, you can decide, you know what, I actually want to know more about cloud. That is okay. Because it simply means you can add that extra value as an Agilist because you understand cloud. As an Agilist, you might decide, you know what, I want to add DevOps to my portfolio. That is okay too, because you can then be both an Agilist and a DevOps coach. So the opportunities are endless. You just need to be able to read and write sometimes, which a lot of you can. You just need to be able to, you know, just go for it and be teachable. Someone who can take the bull by the horn and say, you know what, I'm going to put my mind to this. And what I often say to people, Tobe, is your energy will go to where your mind is. If you put your mind to it. When I started my Agile journey, Tobe, I was studying a good minimum 10 hours a day. Wow. Because I needed to accelerate myself in that space. And because, like I said before, I was great at researching myself, you know, that was easy for me. But not a lot of people can do that. But it doesn't matter how many hours you put in, even if it is 30 minutes a day, even if it is 1 hour a day, you go online to say, you know what, I want to know more about Agile. Tobe has talked about mindset. She's talked about research. She's talked about just moving. Go online. And guess what? You don't have to spend a dime. We are Agilists. People pay us. People pay us well to help them get into the Agile space, but you don't even have to start by paying anybody. So we are not here to do marketing at all. So what we're asking you to do now is that go to YouTube, go to LinkedIn if you're already a LinkedIn member. There are resources everywhere. Go to meetup.com, please, if you want to know about Agile, and find out what webinars or meetups are going on. There's always something going on to do with Agile. And it cuts right across the spectrum from beginner to expert. You will find something there and that you will go, this sounds like something I can do. We are encouraging you because it's an amazing space to be in. Tobe, before you say that, once you're done with that, can you tell us about how you have used the 12 Agile principles to help people in their personal lives? But go ahead with what you want to say, please.
Okay, so with, just in terms of going into Agile and figuring your way out, you said you just need to be able to read and write, and that's true, because really the core strength of a person who is in the Agile space, especially if you are a lead, if you're a Scrum Master, a product owner, a coach, especially if you're in those roles, is your strength of communication. It is how you communicate, when you communicate, how specific and clear your communication is. With most things within the work delivery space, the challenge is really to make sure that what you are saying to a person is being understood in the way that you intend for it to be understood. So clean up your communication style. Learn to be straightforward, specific, and clear. Right? Learn to write properly, learn to talk properly, and learn to engage with people in a way that does not leave them feeling confused or murky about what your ask of them is. And you will start to be successful within the Agile space. It really,
Absolutely.
really is.
And what you leverage in that space are your soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
In the Agile space, what makes us successful is nothing technical at all. It is our soft skills, emotional intelligence, self-management, emotional awareness, social awareness, relationship, intelligence. Those are the things that makes us successful. So, Tobe, I'm particularly interested in how you have used the 12 Agile principles. Remember earlier on, we said that Agile is a mindset. Now, one of the things that we have in this space is we have 4 values and 12 principles that guides the way we think and work in this space. And Tobe seems to have used this in a different way. So tell us about that, Tobe.
So I'm going to start with the values, because really for me, it starts with the values.
Yeah.
So the first value, when it comes to human beings and your human growth, it is you are valuing people, you're valuing doing, you're valuing collaborating, and you're valuing flexibility. Right? When you map these up to the agile values, that's what it translates. So I've got some stuff on LinkedIn that you can actually look at to help explain that a little bit more.
Okay.
When you value people and you're going in as an agilist, what you're doing is building relationships, right? You're building and leveraging relationships. Like you said, a vault, you want to unlock a vault, but you want to make sure people feel safe and comfortable for you to achieve that with them. And then you value doing. You'll have a bias for action. You're not just going to stay static in planning phase for the next 2 months. It is, okay, we've had this conversation. What is the outcome of this conversation? What are we doing next? You value action. Every action has to have some sort of valuable outcome to you, to the other person that you're speaking to your delivery, to your personal growth. And then you value collaborating, kind of like what we were talking about. You want to network upwards, you want to network across your peers. No man is an island. You're not going to achieve anything alone. You might run faster if you run alone, but you will go further if you go with people. And then you want to value flexibility. You know that African proverb, there are so many ways to the market. You're not going to say, because you're trying to get to this one spot, you're only going to use this one direction to go there. You're going to have plan A, B, C, D. And if at any point one plan needs you to make a detour, you already have the flexibility and accommodation to make a detour because you are clear on the outcome you're trying to work towards. So it always starts for me with the values. Once we get the values communicated, then we start going into the principles, and that's where you're thinking of things like having, customer satisfaction. What does that look like? Clarity of outcome, right? You want to talk through your clarity of outcome. You want to talk through short cycle feedback. So you want to have short bouts of work that give you satisfaction. You can take that satisfaction, review it, see what went wrong, pivot yourself so that you're able to do better. But my conversation always starts from the values, because from there, within the principles and outside of the principles, you're able to map out what the rest of your action plan needs to be, and you, in a sense, be flexible towards how you move through your action plan for your personal growth and your career growth.
Absolutely. And coming back to the values, individuals and interactions, we need to value relationships. As an agilist, we need to value relationships. We need to have respect for one another. And you will find that the leaders that do well, the leaders within organizations, and we're having their organizations do amazingly well, is because the leadership there respect people. They are creating environments in which people can thrive. So if you leverage those agile values and principles, you will get the results. Because you see, like I said before, humans are like a vault. You need to unlock that vault. If you create an environment of fear, they will not come to work fully.
Sure.
They will not. You will only get, the minimum. But create a safe environment and you'll be amazed what your employees can achieve. Now, responding to change. Now, how much have you done in the last 1 year to yourself? Now, there's something I say. We are all online these days, and we pay to be online. I say this, if you exhaust your data and you learn nothing new by the time you've exhausted your data, it is tantamount to paying for tuition and not going to class. For me, that is what the internet is today. It's a university. So we have no excuse. If you want to know more about Agile, trust me, there's so much you can do on your own online. And if you want to find out more from Tobe, please connect with her. TobeEnergy.com. She does amazing work with individuals, especially when it comes to your personal development. She does amazing work. Link up with her on LinkedIn. She's on LinkedIn. And you will probably find more of her resources in the way she has used the Agile values and principles to, talk more about how we can use that in our personal growth. So please do that. And I'm just trying to see what more comments we have here. Yemi says, actually, all my questions are answered by the host and the guest. That is fantastic. We are happy to have you here all the time, Yemi. So we have come to the hour, and I just want to thank our guest, Tobe, for investing your time with us this Sunday evening. And for our audience, you are always showing up. We are grateful for your time investment every Sunday. I hope you have learned a thing or two here. And I hope myself and Tobe that we have been successful in convincing you that you should be in this Agile space with us. Okay? You should be in this Agile space with us. And you don't have to spend a dime to start. You do not have to spend a dime. I charge people to help them into this space, but I am telling you now, you don't need to spend a dime to start. Get started on your own. Find out what is happening, okay? Join meetups, attend webinars, understand what this whole Agile thing is all about, and we'll be waiting for you, all right? So thank you once again to Beth. Thank you to everyone, and we're going to call it an evening today. Thank you so much.
All right.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you as always. Bye-bye.